Ah.
Welcome, friends. Welcome, all. Welcome, you beautiful people. The best boys of film podcasts. It's an amateur film study podcast for the average Joe and the buffest buffs. I am your host, JP, aka Slob Thomas, and I'm joined by my brother, professional Hollywood videographer,
Kory with a story. Kory Pakavish. How y'all doing today? Welcome back to another one.
Full name. Why don't you give him your social security number?
All right, it's gonna be, but oh man, you're the one that has had your identity stolen like multiple times.
Yeah, I think it's because my card got skimmed and those kinds of things, because of online purchases and whatnot.
It's all right. There's someone in Dubai still. I just got another message a couple weeks ago, still using a stolen picture of my passport to scam people for like events and parties and shit in Dubai. And I can't do
Sick.
anything about it. I talked to a lawyer about it a while ago. This has been happening for a couple of years. And essentially, because they're not doing anything in U.S. soil, I can't. There's nothing I can do.
You have no jurisdiction, yeah.
Yeah, I just have to just pray that someone over there catches the guy. Last I heard, it's some dude from India.
Well,
but
good for him, man. I wonder if he looks like you.
I mean, I don't know.
I want to see like if he looks like you, but Indian, you know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, according to Grandpa, it would probably be.
Yeah, that's true. Because they think my grandparents think Kory looks like Nate Burleson, and
and have like the same mannerisms and stuff. And I mean, I'm flattered because he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy, but he doesn't look like.
I don't see it.
He doesn't look like Nate Burleson. Hey, wait, hold on. Open image, new tab.
Oh God.
Nate Burleson. Honestly, he's a entertainment star right now.
He's a national treasure, is what he is.
All right. So we're here. I'm joined by my super famous former NFL player, former Seattle Seahawk, Nate Burleson. He's our first special guest on Best Boys. So what do you think? I got a question for you. I want to do a little opener before we get into these two films, and I thought it was very relevant. What do you think about the marketing of these A24 films? Because we had a little discussion about this after Lamb, and how people can have an expectation that a film is going to be more like another kind of film that they know. This movie's going to be just like. So with horror, it's the worst. That's the one that they do it the most. They'll put jump scares in the trailer. They'll try to make it seem like it's full of action. Everything's got a full of fucking action or full of comedy. Lamb, I really thought they made it seem like it was a horror comedy. I thought in the line of either a Get Out or a Tusk, or maybe like either that, or it was also evocative of like the Lighthouse or The Witch or the Hereditary, or those kinds of things. So do you think that is sure, it's gonna sell tickets in the short term and it's gonna put butts in the proverbial seats there, but what do you think long term that might hurt the brand of A24?
Honestly, kinda. Just like depending, because luckily A24 has like a lot of different things like out now, where you've got like Zola, and like the Green Knight and stuff that are not being marketed as horror, and stuff. But for this movie specifically, like it is through and through marketed, and even saying like when I went to buy my ticket on the AMC app, is just says horror, and this is not a horror movie at all. It is like. It's like a slow burn, I'd say, like slice of life thing, but it is It makes you like based on the ads and everything, even like up for the first, however, like the first two acts of the movie, like I felt that this was going to be something more like The Witch, and it is not.
It's supernatural drama, maybe.
Mhm.
It's absurd though. But then
Yeah.
it's like a folk tale, so it's I don't know. But this isn't the I only bring this up because I remember the Green Knight this happened with. We said
Mhm.
it in our Green Knight review. The Lighthouse, which I thought was pretty obvious what it's going for. It was like
Yeah, I thought so too.
this is an old style noir horror movie. Maybe not even noir,
Mhm.
but old style black and white horror movie. That you've probably seen on TV as a kid on some weird deep channel like A&E or Turner
Yeah.
Classic Movies or some shit. Um, and I thought that, but some people thought it was going to be just a more overt horror movie where there's just, a bad guy with a knife chasing around our main character.
Mhm.
And that is not what that movie was. I think movies like Midsummer and Hereditary and The Witch to a lesser extent, because The Witch I think is more on in line with this than on
Mhm.
that side. Is Hereditary and Midsummer I think are more accessible to the average Joe horror goer. That's just they've seen classics, they've seen the popular
Mhm.
things over the years. That's more accessible to them, and then I think that's a lot of people's gateway into A24. And if you go on any kind of Reddit related to A24 or message board, Facebook group, it's the number one movie that gets talked about. And I think it's because of that level of accessibility. And some of these, the slower the burn, I think that raises the challenge rating, to use a D&D term, of the film. Uh, and Titan, and it's not just A24. Neon is any of these new indie films trying to make a splash, a viral word of mouth splash. I think this is a tactic. I don't know. I don't know. Do you think that they're? I guess you've already said that the long term it might not be sustainable, but I think that it could really put some people off, like people
Yeah.
that like the Marvel movie goers are gonna just when they see A24 just be like, yeah, this is gonna automatically suck. I know that
Yeah.
what this is gonna be
Perfect
shitty.
example of this. A perfect example of this is Kylie's brother. He was asking us all about it after we got out of it because he was hyped to see it after seeing the trailer, and he's more in line with your average moviegoer. He's a big Marvel guy, big into that stuff. But he also like because of things like Midsummer and all that, he goes into the more of these like weird, really absurd and just kind of wild, like more horror-esque movies that A24 does. And then he was just like, you can spoil it or whatever because we told him that it was not what we thought it was going to be. And he after we told him kind of how it was, he was like, oh, that's not at all what I was expecting, and I'm glad I'm not like going to see it now. But I told him it's worth seeing because it's not just because it's not what you thought it was going to be doesn't necessarily make it bad, but it does. You will have that disappointment, and even I did to a point with this movie. Going in and expecting something, which is why don't watch trailers, kids. Just go in blind. It's the best way to enjoy something if you can avoid it. This movie was marketed everywhere.
Yeah,
There's
there was. I got tons. I got trailers on YouTube. It was trailers before like the last four movies we saw in the theaters.
yeah.
Pretty much every movie I've seen in theaters since we been doing this podcast. I think this trailer played before.
Mhm.
I was really looking forward to it, and it didn't. I wouldn't say it met my expectations, but there was something in my mind from that trailer that said this could be a gimmicky movie, and it relies on the gimmicky sheep kid, and I don't think it
Mhm.
does that either. It's definitely better than that. And that's but yeah, I guess that let's you want to just talk about Lamb then? You ready?
Yeah, we can go
All right, let's do it.
so a ram man or a sheep man hybrid kills the husband in the end, and then takes the its daughter back, the Ada. But even if I just had like a 30-second shot of just like what that life is, like where it went, what it or something. I feel like could have had a way more like what the fuck kind of impact with the end to just really kind of just like give the I guess add to the unsettlingness of like this is you have this beautiful Icelandic place on there on this farm, and the whole movie is just is like very slow slice of life of just these two people and how a child getting brought into their relationship kind of changes everything for the better, and they're a lot happier and enjoying things. Um, but I don't know, I just feel like it just needed something more to impact to make all of that kind of more worth it rather.
Drive it all home. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was fine in the journey. I actually really enjoyed the journey on this one.
same.
Kind of like how I felt about Green Knight, where I like didn't mind just living in in this world, and I wasn't concerned about how long it was going to take. I really enjoyed the relationship and how like Ada grew on Ingvar and the husband and how then we haven't talked about Peter yet, the introduction of Ingvar's brother about after the first act he shows up, and it's kind of a foil to everything. He's a little more serious, he's a little more straightforward,
Mhm.
but he's also an asshole, and they establish that very early where he tries to proposition in Maria, and later in the film that culminates with a more aggressive advance, getting towards blackmail and probably rape once and they get intoxicated. There's like they drink after watching handball, I'm pretty sure is
Yeah,
what they were watching.
yeah, that was it.
I've never seen someone get so into a game of handball, but that
I
was
like
pretty
that
cool.
though. I thought
So did I.
that was unique and
Uh,
kind of interesting for just like what are the people in the middle of nowhere? What are they like? Like what are they gonna
What are
watch
they
sports
into?
wise?
Yeah, what are they into? So that is super interesting. Um, yeah, and they get drunk and they have fun, and Peter, the brother, also at one point tries to kill Ada, right after pretty much after the first couple of days he's there, because
Yeah.
he's trying to convince them that she's just an animal,
Mm.
and she needs to be put down. But Ada just seems to endear herself to everyone that she encounters. But
Yeah.
early on, they kind of give you the hints of a monster, and I just couldn't try to. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be like a literal monster or a figurative kind of thing for a while. Also, I can't help but I've thought through the first, half of the movie that there was a possibility that Ingvar fucked a sheep and this
Oh,
how this is born.
100%. We left when Kylie and I first left the theater, we both thought like either she is maybe she like can't have kids and he is and they're not like having sex anymore and so he ends up like banging one of the sheep and happens, or maybe it was like a consensual conversation about banging the sheep to have the kid or something, but like I definitely did not expect the sheep man hybrid to be the what creates Ada. Especially because it almost feels like it drives you to kind of think that it's just going to be like a group of sheep that come in the end and just start being like the birds but with sheep. Because they do a lot of
That's what
transitional.
yeah, there's the trailer made that seem like that was possible, but it just
Mhm.
showed so many different things that like there's no way enough time to do all that. So I was
But
like, I
it has
had a feeling that the birds sheep was not gonna be a thing past just like those few couple things, which it
mhm.
wasn't.
It's just like for the first two acts, they have a lot of anytime there's a passage in time, which is hard to. One of the things I found, I don't think to the detriment of the film, but just kind of like confusing to following was passage of time because the only parts of this movie that take place at night is the very opening scene, and then the rest of it is all daytime.
And
But when you do have these like any kind of like a time skip sort of thing, you have these transitions where it's just these like really unsettling, gross looking sheep in like snowstorms or just like with this golden sepia tone filter over them and all in slow mo, and it's very creepy, and it's something that for me pushed me towards that like the birds sheep vibe like while I was watching, but it just kind of goes.
This movie pulls you in a few different directions, and you're not sure where it ends up going, and it kind of just goes. Um,
until
Yeah, that I thought that was interesting because I figured it out like though it's never night, and then people are sleeping like they're taking an awful lot of naps during or
Mhm.
sleeping in a lot, and then I realized that it's probably like Alaska where it's so far north that they get daylight for weeks at a time or
Yeah.
night for weeks at a time. Um, so that was interesting. That was cool. That was cool how you kind of just figure that out, and it's just something about Iceland or in wherever they are in particular there that
Mhm.
that it makes it would make it. It's hard for us to track. So imagine living in that. You get used to it, but imagine that'd be hard to track night and day, other than just when you feel tired, when your body clock designates night.
Yeah. It's I feel like your sleep schedule would slowly slip without realizing it. Because of it. Like the daylight would just naturally keep you up a little bit longer, and then you'll just like
I don't know.
rotate.
I don't know. I feel like you might get used to it if that's like your all you live in. Um,
Potentially. I mean, I'm sure they are, but someone as you and I might be a difficult adjustment.
The Ada herself is absolutely adorable. I could just kept
Agreed.
thinking that she was so cute.
Not an ounce of
Um,
creepiness. I'm glad that they didn't go in like a creepy way. They just and they embrace it in like this loving,
the way she
like
moved
wholesome.
around is so like lifelike.
Mm.
And this like little kid like, and this, man, obviously they just had a real little kid, and I don't know if they put green screen mask on it
I
or
think they
something.
did. I was very much looking to see if they were going to do CG Lamb, but this was not a big budget movie at all. So I thought they did a very good job though with the effects that they did do with it on. It all looked practical or just like you said, was superimposed on.
Yeah, they tried
Uh,
to use like a real lamb as much as possible, like get
yeah, which
away
I
with that.
appreciated that. I think I
And
feel like
that makes it more cohesive visually, in my opinion.
it would have been a lot harder sell to take seriously if it looked like the CGI baby from Twilight.
Or
uh,
the CG even just or the CG fox from the Green
yeah,
Knight.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because like that was something that people didn't mind because of the budget and everything, but I thought was not good. I
yeah.
love the giants. Some people hated the giants in the Green Knight. Love those. Didn't like the
Oh, those are
fox.
super cool. I didn't mind it. It's kind of one of those things where it's like once it's established what kind of CGI it's doing in the movie, I just ride with it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's like style.
yeah.
Um, so um, so what did you think about? So what did you think about the returning to the Uncle Peter storyline? Because I didn't. That was the one thing I didn't know. Like I liked the him at first because, like I said, he's a foil. He's like the
Mhm.
person to question what's going on here. But then we learned an awful lot about him. We learned more about Peter than we learned about
Damn.
Ingvar and Maria.
Yeah.
Other than all we knew about them is that they're farmers out there in the boons, and they lost a child, and they're trying to fill that void with this lamb baby.
When I first left the theater, I kind of was just like, I feel like Peter was only there as a means to leave the door open in the morning so that the ram could go get their gun. The sheep man could go get their gun, but it is interesting what they do because they I don't want to say cram because it didn't feel cramped, but they cram a lot of just kind of who this guy is and how he is and just kind of like character development between him and Maria in about a 20-minute, 25-minute span. But it was cool. It was interesting. Like he was in a former like pop band, and they put the music video that they have on VHS on. They're all
Yeah, that
dancing,
made me
part
laugh. That
like
made me
yeah,
laugh.
I love that part. I thought that was really good. Um, but then it's just kind of like and then you follow like it almost shows like because you're retreading like the growing of the husband Ingvar and Maria to adopting Ada, where the husband's kind of just like what is what the fuck, and then he's just like accepts it and is like all happy or whatever. And I feel like the same thing happens with Peter. Uh, but then he tries to fuck his brother's wife, and then he has to go, and but
Yeah,
that
yeah, that's what I thought too. That there was this like character development arc that like came through Ada, and that's what it seemed like it was going, and then he just like and illustrated that he didn't grow at all.
Mm.
and then he had to go.
And it was like, hey,
And then he left
we got,
the movie after that.
yeah, Maria's like, hey, I got to take your brother to the bus so that this sheep can go get your gun. I'll be back.
If you can't,
And
yeah, if your character can't develop, you got to get the fuck out of here, dude.
yeah, if you can't lock doors, then you deserve to get killed by the sheep, man.
Um,
But the
yeah, I
but I didn't hate it. I still liked it. You know, there's I
I
know
don't
I
have a
sound like
problem with any of
sorry.
that. The thing with
Yeah.
just so the sheep get the gun. I because like they're all out doing shit, and I think that was just what it was supposed to be. And then it didn't. I don't think the sheep man needed a gun to kill the man. I think he used the gun because she killed the sheep
Yeah.
mom with a gun.
That
Maria.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. The even the what was also interesting is that he shot him twice. Like he shot him once in the neck, and that was probably going to be enough to because he shot him right around the jugular, but then he goes makes a point to shoot him again in the stomach. And it's also interesting why he didn't just shoot him in the face or the head, unless he like intended him
Maybe
to like
yeah. I mean, maybe he's not great
suffer
at
or.
aiming. He's a sheep man.
Well,
I don't know
I
how
mean, it
many.
looked from the perspective, it looked like he shot him at point blank. Like,
Yeah,
look,
that's true.
they look very
I
close.
don't know how many firearms this sheep man has operated in his life.
He was holding it up with what looked like proper form, but what are you gonna do? But I wonder if that's just kind of something where it's like you bleed out long enough so that Maria can get there for the last final moments of his life.
Yeah, I think maybe she wanted, or he wanted, her to see him
Yeah,
die. Um,
if he's that intelligent to think, which he'd have to be
I
based on
think so.
how.
Yeah, it's very folklore like. It's just like this the wisdom of nature, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's what the themes of it. So we found out that it isn't actually based on a folklore. It's just the director Valdimir Johannsson says that this was just a result of a dream of his, and that he's watched the movie so many times he doesn't even know what it means anymore. But that's just I think that's something that people say when they are exposed to their art a lot.
mhm.
I certainly have felt that way making music before. Um,
It's
uh,
also could totally be one of those things where it's kind of it's intentionally designed for interpretation to for whatever like relates and like it hits home with you.
I think the ending is. I think especially at least how Maria's emoting at the end and how she's processing what just
Mhm.
happened. Um, yeah, I would say that what you get is a absurd slice of life film, and that's all folklore tale. That's the best way I would describe it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we should have did this with Killing of a Sacred Deer. You know, the myth folklore thing. I guess it's not based on a real one, but I think that there's some connective tissue there. Um,
yeah, just having that like supernatural and suspense feeling. Because while this movie is like a slow burn, it still I think does a good job of building suspense without trying, if that makes sense. Like I was very much just like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? I was over looking at everything, looking to see if it's gonna mean something later and all that stuff. So I definitely think it did a good job with that and pacing and everything. And from a cinematic standpoint, like obviously the backdrop of Iceland is obvious is out of this world beautiful, but even from a cinematic standpoint, I loved like the shots that they did with everything. Everything just very much utilizes this like the space very well with scale and doing all those extreme wides, but then also like still knowing how to be personal. Like when you have one of my favorite shots in the movie, honestly, which it might sound weird, is when Ingmar and Peter are they're sitting on the back seat of the tractor while Maria's driving, and they're putting the little seeds in the pockets
yeah,
for
I
the.
thought that was cool.
Yeah, I really because that's also just something that you just never see people do, and because you always see the generic farm life of what people are doing on a farm.
Yeah, that was interested in the tasks. I was also interested in the tasks. I thought that it was immersive, and the farm life, and like Peter, if you're gonna be bumming here, then you're gonna have to do some work too.
Yeah,
and I appreciated that. Um, yeah, I liked the movie a lot. I just think there was potential. I think for it to be great.
Mm.
And I think that's where we're really at. Beautiful. If we're talking about shots, I don't have anything in particular. Just numerous landscapes are great. They're paintings. So many paintings in the movie. There was some cool fake outs with so early towards the end. They have a dog that's been with them the whole time, and the dog seems to be weird about Ada. No, it's not like blatant, but it's like keeping distance and not. The dog is like all up Ingvar's ass before Ada's around, and as soon as Ada's with him, it's like taking. There's like little subtle hints, and then towards the end, the sheep man kills the dog, and then there's a couple scenes later. Ingvar is talking to Ada, and I hear a cat go like make a noise. A cat making meow, and it sounded like it was coming from outside. And I was like, "Oh shit, the sheep man got the cat next." And because they keep showing this cat just as much as they're showing the dog, and then it cuts to Ada, and she must have grabbed the cat, and she's hugging the cat, and it was so cute. And it was, I don't know if it was just to juxtapose them, the sheep man and Ada, or what, but that had to have been intentional. Because it faked me out. It was too good to not have faked me out.
The a fake out for me was that slow zoom on the painting of or the picture on the wall of all the sheep with the shepherds herding them, and it like slow zooms on it for a good 30
Oh
seconds.
yeah.
I'm looking at every part of this for anything, and there's nothing in there. It's just sheep, and I was man, I was expecting. That's another thing or like thing that reminded me of something like like all to like The Witch or something where it's like that this is a chance of foreshadowing something, but it's like a Where's Waldo, and if you saw it on the first time you saw it, but if not, it's gonna be a Weaver or
Yeah,
a
Midsummer does that shit.
um,
Um,
but yeah, no, it's just more sheep. It's just
um, there was a painting earlier in the film, and there's a shot of Ingvar, and he's only taking up like a third of the screen, and the rest of it is the wall and this painting. And it is of a woman. It's like a gold amber color painting of a woman on a horse or unicorn. I can't remember if there's a horn or not. But that was the same. And I was like, the one thing about this movie is the Chekhov's gun rule was followed flawlessly. So you could see something earlier in the film and be like, okay, that's going to be a thing later. That's going to be a thing later. There's a line about the tractor. Oh, the tractor's making a noise. And as soon as she said that, I was like, okay, tractor's breaking down sometime this movie. And it was right. The gun come up, but then just kept coming up. The gun was just a straight up theme of the movie. I forgot what I was talking about before that. Before these two things, that was my example that inspired me to say that. But
we're just talking about Chekhov's gun fake outs.
well, yeah, but I don't remember what I was saying before the Chekhov's gun thing. But yeah, what did you think about that? Like, it seemed like there was predictable elements. It didn't end in a predictable way. There like it did, but then it didn't. If that makes sense. Like I could.
Yeah.
Ingvar dying and Ada going was predictable, but just the way it was done wasn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know. What do you think about all that stuff?
I mean, I didn't really notice like there's so many kind of, I feel like, foreshadowing elements in not just these kind of movies, but just in movies in general that you look for. And especially like working in film, it's very hard to not look at a film and just see like, all right, this is what they shot, how they shot it, this is what they did, why they did it, and all these things.
There's so many set up, payoff, set up, payoff.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like I think you could write a movie in reverse. Like if you know what you want to happen later, then you just you just know, oh, I need to put. It's like Bill and Ted, where they go back in time and they're like, oh, well, as long as we remember to go back in time, we can just have this thing. So, like, say you want the tractor's gonna break down at this point. Well, then that means we need a line early in the movie where somebody says something's wrong with the tractor.
Yeah.
Like it's not. I don't think the person wrote the dialogue in chronological order. You know what I'm saying? Like I
Oh,
think
for
when
sure. Yeah,
they
that's
have to
definitely
write
a
those
common thing.
kinds of things
Mhm.
backwards.
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely a common thing because a lot of times on these kind of stories, you start with just the grand, like beginning and end, and then it's more just like how do we get there?
filling
Like
in,
how do
yeah,
we
connecting dots.
and
Filling in,
work.
fill in blanks.
Yeah, no, working backwards, that's common with a lot of things, and dialogues usually I feel like the last thing that's even written. And aside from just like some few wild lines that you just like think of in the moment, like, oh, this is a great line. I don't know where it's gonna go, but it's a good line, and then you write it down.
I've experienced a lot with that with hip hop, where it's I have a good rhyme, but then I have to
Mm,
figure out what is going to be the line that makes sense. Why I'm saying the rhyme word at the end. You know what I mean?
mm, yeah.
Um,
And honestly, script writing is a lot like song. Like at least I feel with but like you and I both have a ton of music backgrounds, and always feel like that correlation of like lyric writing and songwriting in general is very similar. Not in the physical of what you're doing to making film, but in the kind of creative process where it's almost
yeah,
kind of making a
how it
journey.
flows. Yeah, how and yeah, connecting dots and filling blanks.
'Cause
That's definitely how it feels like.
when you and I were younger, when a new album would come out, we would like binge it all in one sitting
I
because
still
it,
do that.
like a yeah. I still with certain releases I do that too. But it kind of is just like a movie, and you almost just like, especially for concept albums where you're just like, all right, these are your peaks and your valleys. This is your credit song. This is your whatever, and it always will have that connection. I feel like just because of the way things need to um, fit in a sequence to create something more grand but still work. Like the sum of its parts kind of thing.
Um. So, do you have anything? You have anything else you can think of that you want to talk about with Lamb? I think it's just not a lot. I don't like. For me, there wasn't a lot to really say bad about it. I just think it's a case of a movie that builds up a lot, and you spend a lot of time there, and it's just it doesn't really wrap up in a way that feels fulfilling.
Yeah,
And that kind of makes the journey. I think for some people, it makes the journey less worth it. I don't think that, but I think it does hold it back from being great.
yeah. Honestly, the ending kind of like sucked a lot of wins out of the sails for me. I felt like I be I granted it's partially from expectation, but it's not expectation so much from the marketing, but also from just like how the movie felt like it was going. Um, and it just comes down to how, like, does the good about this movie outweigh, in my opinion, a not great ending. And I'm currently just I'm stuck in the middle on it because I know what I'm gonna score this, but I would recommend this to people. I'd say you should see it. It's
Oh,
a good film.
absolutely. It's a good
Um,
movie. It's
just
just you need
yeah,
to know what you're getting, and if you think
yeah,
if you want something else out of it, then you will not like it.
mm, agreed.
What are you
But
scoring it?
I'm currently sitting at a 3.
I'm giving it a 3.5.
Yeah, I that makes sense. I honestly I was nervous like what you were gonna say about me giving it a 3,
No, I think
but
it's okay. I think it's okay. I think cuz I just thought about like, Pig. This is on a Pig level to me. I think I like it better than Pig. It's funny cuz Lamb Pig.
yeah,
We got to watch First Cow. It's another A24 movie. It's
all
about
the
an
farm
animal.
movies. Yeah,
All the
farm
animals.
animal movies.
Yeah, yep. The
But
trilogy.
I like farm. I like pig better than this one though. I feel I just because
I think I like this better
I
than Pig.
felt I felt satisfied with pig's ending with the like that whole cooking scene, teaching the kid how to
I didn't
make
like
like his
that. I
parents'
hated
favorite
that
thing, and then
scene.
feeding it to the dog. I liked it. I thought it was a
I
nice
didn't
like
hate it. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it though.
it. I like that more of a closer, and it felt like more of a fulfilled purpose, like ended how not that how I thought it would, but just it felt right. Versus this one, I uh I had a very strong reaction to just that's it.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to be it seems to be a popular take. Um, I've seen a lot on that on Letterboxd and whatnot. But yeah, I gave it. I think I gave it a 3.5. I put it around pig territory as far as my A24 ranking. Oh, eight pigs on A24, but as far as my best boys ranking for sure. So that'll do it. Let's move on to the next one.
For all lamb.
Let's climax.
Climax was a fucking ride. That's what that is.
So let's talk about Climax. I think about this movie all the time. This is only the second time I've seen it. And it gives me not the willies. There's just something uneasy about it.
I mean, there's a ton of reasons why it's uneasy.
Well, yeah. I guess there's a ton of reasons. It's gorgeous, or it's not. It's the dance. There's a lot of culture and dancing and just like youth. Connect. Like it reminded me a lot of days when I was younger, but also days performing, which was only a few years ago. Performing all the time or touring or rehearsing or being like people being a part of these art collectives and dance collectives and teams and whatever. And this kind of brought me back to that, but also like the party life and dance is very much connected to clubs and dance music is very much connected to drugs and all that felt very like this is like an artsy dance crew, and they're the whole. What did you think about the opening of it?
Where it's just like the person
interviews
crawling through the snow, or the interviews.
Well, yeah, you can talk about both.
Yeah, because this movie, hopefully you've seen it if you're watching this. When it opens up as like with kind of studio logos, as if the movie's about to start, and then it just kind of glitches and just immediately cuts to just all white, and this lady just walking and then dropping and crawling through the snow, and then it redoes the things again, and but it goes to these interviews, and I'm the whole time I was like, all right, I'm wondering who this person's gonna be. It's got to be a foreshadowing to the end, and then the interviews though I thought were super interesting because it's essentially like asking everybody it almost felt like a casting couch thing where it's like, what are you willing to do? What are you down with doing? What are you comfortable with?
Yeah, it was it definitely seemed like interviews to get into this crew. And it would pretty much interviews our whole cast. I think it does interview the entire cast. And you kind of get to know each of the characters individually. They kind of they have little defining things about them. But mostly is a lot of, like there's a couple bros and they're just talking about trying to bang chicks or something. There's a couple characters that's like their focus for most of the film.
When it gets into the party part, and when it just does that like black cut to black really quick, but then back to another two-person like conversation. That's like half of that scene is just dudes talking about banging and
trying to fuck,
and previous bangs,
who they fucked, and who they're trying to fuck. Yeah, it's young man shit. Young man shit.
I like the interviews though because after while I'm watching it, I don't think about this, but after the movie ended, the interviews are cool because it's like you're only going to see these characters in a very heightened state for the rest of the movie, because it immediately goes to the dancing stuff after, so they're going to be high on adrenaline, but then after that when they start drinking they're all fucked up, so this is your only time of really seeing the characters like cold sober as they are, so it kind of like gives you little inklings of how they are and who they are and how they might be once the drugs kick in and stuff later, which I thought was really cool. I thought that was a nice way to just kind of be like, these are the characters, like these are the characters, and here's where we're gonna go with them. Like here, like this is it can only go like this is your baseline, and it's only gonna go up from there. But when it got into the dancing, I love this style of dancing stuff. I think I've said it before. But I gaffed part of a Tiana Taylor music video a couple years ago, and it was all drag queens, and so we were shooting just like this drag queen dance off for part of the music video, and I love the dancing like that. Though the athleticism, the the aggression and that kind of stuff. But it comes off as so um fluid at the same time, and it's so cool, and it's like the whole like environment and aesthetic of all of that stuff to me I always thought was just like awesome and so much fun looking and fun to see and probably obviously experience. So going into this, I realizing it was a dance thing, you don't know which way it's going to go, but in the interviews they even talk about just like, are you into boys or just girls or whatever, and everyone seems to be for the most part like pretty bi and just loose for everything. And then it just kind of, it dives into more of that, like you've got some of the characters doing more like the hardcore crumping style dancing, you've got some of the characters doing
Yeah,
the drag
everyone. Well,
dancing.
that's the thing. It's not, they don't just show you their personalities through the interviews, and you get their personalities in 3 phases. You get the like not professional, but it's, you get the interview, so you see how they act there. You see how they act in their dancing styles, and all of them, everyone involved has. I mean, there's groups. Some groups have a style, like there's little subgroups, but a lot of them individually have their own styles, and then that's like, it tells you a lot about them. And then the 2-person interviews, or not interviews, the 2-person conversations shots, same thing. You're seeing them with their friends, like, or with like how they're acting privately, and you're basically hearing, besides hearing a bunch of guys talk about who they want to fuck, you're hearing a lot of people talk shit on each other also. Like this petty, like we're all in the same group and we're all clicking up and talking shit on each other.
The brother and sister though definitely didn't catch the foreshadowing until towards the end. Well, like when they're having their conversation and he's just getting so involved in her like relationship, trying to split it up and just like, I'll take care of you, don't worry about whatever. And then he ends up trying to fuck his sister at the end of the movie. That was
I feel like they were sprinkling that throughout, like their relationship, and then it got weirder and weirder as time went on. The dance numbers in this are just amazing, and like you got to realize that with the interviews, the 2-part, the personal conversations and the dance numbers, it's like half the movie. And just, that's the setup, is getting to know this group of people, and then the incident happens, and then we watch things unravel from that point.
Yeah, what's nuts to me is like, it's the way this movie is shot. It's all one location. It's all and everything's kind of sectioned off by different kind of colors of light to indicate areas. But so much of this movie is a one shot that I loved.
Yeah, all the dancing stuff, but even past that, there's the long one shots.
Like once you get to everyone realizing that they're on LSD, it's almost entirely a one shot after that, with just a very few cuts here and there. But having that is just, makes your experience their trip coming on in real time. Like it's like you're there, like as it's all as they dive deeper and deeper into the trip, which I thought was so cleverly done, because that's such a smart way to do it. To like to have like a real time passage of real time feel. And then when you have like the as the chaos goes more and more, then the camera just like goes practically sideways, constantly going Dutch, going upside down, just all these different indications of just like
shit has gone wrong,
as disoriented as they feel. And then you have the sound design on top of that, where there's as soon as everybody finds out that they're fucked up, and they like, from the time they accuse Omar and throw him out, there is a constant scream in the background from one of the characters at all times until the end. And it is like
which makes it horrifying. Like, it is hellacious, and it really So there's a lot of people's critique of this film, and I don't think it's accurate, because I think you like, to say this means that you don't understand the nuance of drug use and party life and all that. Is that like tripping, LSD in particular? And I won't, we don't need to go into our own experiences with or without, but there is an unpredictability to it, and your mood is a big factor on how your experience will be. If you are anxious, you might be a little bit more anxious. There's always a little bit of nervousness, but if so, if you are given LSD against your will, there is a way higher probability that you will react poorly to it, because you'll freak out. Your first initial reaction is to freak out a little bit, and freaking out when you are tripping is bad because it can send you down on like a longer, extended, freak out, longer bad time feelings.
Oh, for sure.
And so that's like the horror of this, and I think a lot of people thought that this movie is anti-drug, that this is an anti-drug movie, and it's trying to teach you on the dangers of drug use, particularly LSD, and and party life, because like all these bad things happen. There's weird sexual situations at the end of the film that you just kind of don't know what's really consent and what's not, and it's like the lines are blurred. There's a lot of violence. It's true, I mean, people get killed, of course, but just like people getting their ass kicked, just because you remove the murder, remove Omar's death, even remove the all right, spoilers.
But at the time, you don't know he's dead until the end.
You kind of assume, because it's so wintry outside, that if he did not find, I don't know how he didn't find some place or police or something to go to.
School is in the middle of nowhere with like nothing around it.
Well, it seemed like there's buildings around, but it was the middle of the night. It's the middle of the winter. It looks like it's a really bad storm, and there's not a lot of people out. So you don't really. I kind of assume that once he didn't come back, that he's probably gone. But I don't remember what I was trying to say besides Omar.
Well, I was gonna say about the anti-drug thing is like I did not walk away with this being anti-drug at all. If anything, it says don't fucking spike your friends' drinks. Like, don't be a dick. Like, which is pretty everybody knows that. But I just thought that this was a very accurate representation of just like shit spiraling, and when you add that many people to it, which is like something that you don't really see, like this reminded me of I shot Moonrise Festival way back in like 2015, 2016. It was a big EDM festival in Baltimore, and you're in the crowd shooting all day, and this is like snippets of what I've experienced there. You kept coming in and out of this situation in this movie, just based on like the blurred lines of consent, based on just like the violence out of nowhere, things like that. Just like when you're around just a large group of people all tripping at the same time, it takes one like shift of the winds to set off kind of like I feel like a domino effect of just chaos. I
don't think it's even restricted to like drugs and tripping. I think alcohol. I think just alcohol.
Just anything.
This can happen too.
Yeah. But I guess I would say more so though with something like LSD, just because of the altered state of mind, the hallucinations or whatever, I feel like are a little more intense, or a lot more intense.
Well, it's not the same. It's not the same. I mean, it's not exactly the same.
Well, because we also don't know how many cups of the drinks everybody took per film, because it doesn't really. Everyone's drinking, but you don't know how much everyone's drinking. So imagine.
Yeah, but I what I was trying to say is like this could easily happen just with people, like everyone getting super trashed at a party, like in terms of the violence, the sexual stuff, all the same stuff. Not to the weird. I wouldn't have the same level of weirdness to it, and darkness. But I think just like that's why it's not anti-drug to me, because you could like wild shit happens when people party on legal substances. Let alone this. It's just the way that this happens, where it is they are drugged without their knowing, is what creates this really, really intense situation. And they're essentially locked into this place.
Yeah, it was wild. It was nuts. I liked when you got into the when you started following the I believe her name was Selva, like the main character.
Sophia Botella. She's been in 3. Yeah. This is the 3rd movie of Best Boys she's been in.
I know she was in Atomic Blonde.
She was also in Kingsman. She was the prosthetic legs.
the sword legs. um, but when you start, it like breaks off once the drug chaos starts hitting, or it breaks off, and you're pretty much exclusively following her perspective for what feels like probably like a good half hour of the movie. Um, and just
She's definitely the main character. I thought David was going to be the main character too. Like I thought there was a male lead and female lead, and I thought it was going to be her and David, and then that was not what happened. Needless to say, that's not how it went down.
No, it was people did not like David.
I would think that the pregnant character.
I at first a second I thought she was going to become the lead because we started following her for a bit, and then as soon as she started cutting herself, it just immediately followed somebody else. I was like, all right, maybe it's going to be like this kind where everyone gets their 15 minutes or so.
Apparently, Sophia Boutella and the actress who played the pregnant girl are the only actors in this film. Everyone else are non-actors.
Oh wow!
All dancers. All of the rest are actual dancers.
Wow.
The German girl, everybody.
But what I was gonna say about when you break off with her, that's when you start really getting, I feel like, a sense of the scale of like the school building thing that they're in. And then you're getting introduced to all the different like color change sections where color plays a very big part in the lighting of just kind of like what is the mood of this area of the building at this time, where when you get into the bedrooms, it gets a lot more blue, a lot more green, but then whenever like you get to the point where the girl gets her head caught on fire, like that's happening in like a bright red room, and more of that back section seems to be turning more red as the movie goes on.
Let's say the front room, the dance floor area turns red after the power goes out.
The power goes, yeah, that little boy dies.
So let's talk about Tito. Because man,
he was
Tito. So I don't know. There's this meme of this European boy dancing at a dance club around all these adults. It's like a GIF, and this kid is just breaking it down around all these adults in the dance floor, and that's what Tito reminds me of. Because he's just this cute little kid that can cut a rug, and he's hanging out with people older than him, and this kid is definitely exposed to way too much already. And I thought that before the movie started, and then once the trip started and just like Tito is upstairs and like trying to go to sleep while all this shit is happening, I was like, there's only a matter of time before he comes back downstairs and
sangria with the rest of them.
Yep. So he ended up tripping with the rest of them, and for some reason his mom locks him in a room accidentally, and with a bunch of power, like it's like with
it's like a big breaker box.
Yeah, giant. It's a comically. Cool. It's like a comically big.
Have you ever been to like the basement at Highlands and stuff? Like that's what they have. Like when you have like for a big building like that, you have this massive thing of transformers and
a lot of rooms
and all that shit. Yeah.
So it's just like Tito is just trying to resist the urge to play with it and electrocute himself. And the mom's screaming outside the door for that she's usually the one screaming for the first half of the I guess the first half of the crazy part of the movie is the mom is the only one screaming.
They accuse her of spiking the
first, but she's also screaming about Tito. That's what I'm saying. She's freaking out about locking Tito in there, and she like at one point just seems like she gives up looking for the key. And I don't know why she'd do that. It doesn't make any sense. But I guess she was worried about his safety around all these people, and was like, and didn't want him to get hurt that way. But ended up effectively signing his death sentence. That part was pretty. It was like the most on the nose part, and that was like the thing that felt like a horror movie. Honestly, more than anything else in the movie, for like that plot line of having your kid locked in this thing and he's gonna electrocute himself, and like the horror of that. But like the rest of it is just like it's horror, but it's not like a killer or
This is I was when it got to like the midway point, I thought we were gonna get to that point where it's people tripping so hard that they're just indiscriminately killing.
I'm glad it didn't go there.
I am too. I was gonna say this basically, especially after the last few movies we watched, this is the breath of fresh air of not being like extreme like graphic sexualness and extreme over the top, like
It's just
killer
much more
violence.
real. Like it is
Yeah,
over the top.
exactly.
This is over the top, but it
But
is
it
a
feels real.
It's a
It feels like
it is a situation that could. It feels like it could happen. And
yeah.
like Teton does not feel like it could. It couldn't happen. Or
No.
Lamb couldn't happen, obviously. But like this is much more grounded in reality, even if it is a little bit over the top, like with the how the people are catching themselves on fire and murdering each other and kneeing each other in their pregnant bellies and just doing horrible things, trying to coerce each other into sex. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. It's very. I think that's what it's very raw. It's very raw. Raw is probably the number one adjective, and not like a gummo raw where it's raw like camera quality, visual quality. It is raw in terms of what you're seeing. What you're seeing.
I was gonna say, for cinematically, I do feel this is pretty raw because it's shot on film and it's very grainy intentionally.
Yeah,
Which
the conversation scenes are particularly when wow, this seems a little. That's when I noticed the budget was lower just during them. Or not that the budget was low, but that it was there was some like lo-fi, a little bit of lo-fi aesthetic to it. It felt like all those conversations were on stages.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like there wasn't even shot like a movie. It was a very simple.
Yeah,
they were shot so simply.
It's just like putting a camera on a tripod in front of a couple wallflowers and just letting them go.
It felt like real. I think that
it was real.
That honestly, that part contributed to the realness of the movie more than because the interviews in the beginning were much higher. They looked higher quality. Like everything was brighter. Everything it looks more like a professional interview, like a TV camera almost.
I wonder if that's to be like to give like a false sense of like hope or like this is something like they're interviewing.
Oh, this is sunny.
But yeah,
this movie isn't that dark.
But behind them, it's paint chipping like abandoned walls, like abandoned building style walls behind the interviewee. In those scenes, which
did you see all the movies they're like you can read the titles?
Like Suspiria,
they're all weird. Suspiria, yeah. There's a lot of weird movies in there, horror movies.
Harakiri, yeah.
Definitely some foreshadowing that this is not going to be a sunny movie. Besides that,
I like the titling in this. I know this is kind of a side note, but I like.
I was gonna bring that up because that's Gaspar Noé's signature thing is he likes to put the title credits in the middle and he makes them super grand and big and like maximal, super maximal and like different fonts for every name and super big logos and like that's the thing I guess for his films.
It reminded me of a lot of those big story-driven video games where it's like the title card doesn't come until like 6 hours into the game or something like that. Is what it reminded me of. But it was like it was very well done. And it's kind of like fresh too because it gives you kind of like a moment to just sit before like the chaos ensues. Which I enjoyed. It's well like it just goes with like the overall pacing of the film is just very well done. Because you get credits in the beginning and you get credits in the middle, but it doesn't bother you. And then you have these breaks into these little title things that's like death is an extraordinary event, but it's like written upside down.
Yeah, that stuff. So what did you think about? So that was the other critique of the movie is some people thought that there was a pro-life message.
One of the characters says in the movie that it's good to have a choice. With that stuff.
Yes. I think that's the line that indicates that it is not that. But I remember because of all the like death is an unexpected gift or well, I don't remember all that kind of stuff. But there was like hints of like the stuff about Tito and that like you shouldn't like there was supposed to be people were trying to say that, like there was some allegory or metaphor with the mother killing Tito with like abortion, but then. I guess I read some stuff about how Gaspar Noé is very much into this concept of like life and death are both equally important, or birth and death, not life, birth and death are this two bookends and they are similar, like they're both beautiful and And so there's like I didn't that's the thing I wanted to explore more because I didn't fully understand that. What did you think about all that?
Um, that's interesting. Uh, because when you have, I said the only real thing that feels like it's against like the abortion is whenever the pregnant lady comes out with like at the knife and she starts cutting herself and everyone's yelling at her to like abort it or whatever, and then she's like, "Is this what you want me to do? Is this what?" And then instead of like stabbing her stomach or trying to actually, but she just starts cutting herself. That I could see that being taken that way, but um I don't know. The rest of it just kind of feels like it's. I mean, you could argue with Tito Gone Wild and his Emmanuel, his mom. It's she chose to keep it, and like they're saying in the beginning, it seems like you get this feeling of it just like it ended up being a good thing, but then she ultimately killed him, and if she wouldn't have had him, that would have saved this loss and heartache now, and putting in like I guess you could file that under like the unfit parent thing if you're not ready to have a kid or something. But I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really think too much about it in watching the film. It didn't really come across as anything like I get because it's mentioned a few times in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be about that, um, or not necessarily meaning that you're trying to make a statement with it. But when you have the Selva's character saying like, I mean, don't you think it's good to have the choice? I mean, that just puts it right there of what the movie like sides with. I would say if it had to pick a side.
So I just pulled up a quote from Gaspar anyway from an article, and it just said that when he was talking about this film, he said, "I'm annoyed by a culture in which death is always considered something bad."
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, I thought that was interesting. So another thing that I thought was interesting is so the character of Emmanuel, who is the mother of Tito, is actually played by a trans actress, Claude Gijon Mal, who's apparently a long time veteran of the French acting scene. And I read that when Gaspar wanted to cast this, he didn't care about gender, and like everyone's bisexual or pansexual anyway, but that they just casted people on them, and I thought it was super interesting. And like nothing was gender wasn't written in, and it wasn't even written out. Like it just these are the characters and what they're doing. I think they have their name. A lot of them have their real names, or very similar variations of their real names. David doesn't, and so Selva doesn't, who's played by Sofia Boutella. But I thought that was interesting. It kind of really, I don't know, it works with this whole the art vibe and this how everything feels free. These people feel very free in the beginning, and it's really nice. It's because it's multicultural, like they're all French. I think mostly French. I don't because obviously the one girl's from Germany.
Speakers.
Yeah, the one girl's from Germany. There's you said two English speakers. I think somebody might be Italian. But it's like European, that European diversity, and it's something that that is different than what we get in America. And I think, and then obviously the French flag in the background, I think is super interesting. Like this movie definitely wants you is aware of its Frenchness, and it's proud of that, and it's interesting because it's like. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say a lot of the characters in the movie bring up too about like I can't believe that flag is hanging. Like they keep referencing it being like being a bad vibe having a flag.
Yeah. But it's just
movie.
It's like iconic. It's like it fits, and it's in all the posters. Like the one I have up on the screen is it's like the main part of the poster with everyone dancing in front of it. Yeah. What did you think about So who are your favorite characters in all this? We talked about David and Selva, but beyond that, there's a big ensemble, and there's a lot of
honestly,
a lot of people
DJ
like.
Daddy.
Daddy is cool. Daddy is obviously one of the coolest.
Super cool. He's got his long blonde hair, and he's wearing his kilt, and
it's like skirt. I don't know if I think it's a skirt. I imagine he's like
No, it was
Imagine
plaid. So I thought it was like a kilt, like a Scottish
Oh
kilt.
no, I'm pretty sure
But,
that they're playing with doing some gender play there with
well,
the
I
wig
mean, I
and
figured as
the
much.
skirt,
Uh,
because it's like a schoolgirl skirt also.
yeah, I gotcha. I just liked him just because he just the whole movie just was just cool vibes, no fucks. He's and calming down
Yeah,
the one little
yeah,
boy who's trying to get laid. Um, he's the only
yes.
one that like handled his shit well.
The only
Um,
time that Daddy, because like that's when I knew that shit was getting dark, was when Daddy laughed so hard about Oh, Tito just got fried, and that was when I was like, oh shit, Daddy's going dark. Everyone's going dark. This is bad. Like we're in a new era now. Like they're aware, because like Omar, they could reason with themselves that he's not dead. They probably forgot about him because he's gone.
yeah,
But Tito dying is like nobody cared. Nobody
yeah,
cared. And
no,
that
at
was when
all.
I really knew what was up with the like everyone was just in pure nihilism. It's very nihilistic. The movie feels nihilistic, hedonistic. But I think those are kind of vibes of youth. Reckless and reckless abandon, and I don't care about the consequences, and it's part of the I don't know, the experience of being young is testing those boundaries and experiencing new things. And sometimes you find out you went too far. And this is just a hyperbolic version of that, but it still is so relevant and it's so real. That's what I mean. This is there's a difference between over the top and heavy handed versus like this is enhanced. Like this isn't what happens normally, or we would hear about LSD murders all the time. People murdering each other on acid, which we don't. So we know that this is hyperbolic, but there's something about it that is so real and immersive.
I think it felt very real to me. The whole movie, while I myself am not a big hallucinogen person, just between all of the nightlife things I've been around through work, through like touring and everything, like I've seen so much of this, but without the death aspect of it. And I would say I think he did a very, very good job of portraying this in a realistic manner with all the chaos and but also making it feel like it's from a perspective of whoever they're following at that point, like how chaotic it would feel to them as well. Um, and because of that, I think that's what I think this movie's phenomenal. This is really good, and I understand why you've been raving about it for so long. That alone is because it just you read like a synopsis of like uh somebody spiked a punch bowl and everyone gets on drugs and then you hear it's a horror movie and you're really gonna think it's gonna be something I feel like a lot more like kitschy or like generic, but this is I don't it's hard, I'm trying to find the words to describe it, but it's very good. It's so well done. I don't have many faults about this.
Bro, yeah,
uh,
what it's trying to do, I think it does it perfectly.
yeah,
It's just like this. This is a challenging film. This is not like it's not a challenging movie though.
yeah.
Um,
The only negative thing I felt, and it's not even negative at all, I would say, is whenever they were doing the top-down dance thing, that was the only time I was like, I feel like this sequence has gone on pretty long, but then the rest of the movie is just so holds your attention. Like I get it, you need these like little moments of breaks to prepare you, and it's still visually stimulating and
yeah,
visually
it's
high
so cool.
energy.
I thought I
Um,
loved watching the overhead dance scene
oh, it
too.
was so good. It just you have this like 15 to 20 minute break of just dancing before the the punch is served and stuff, and that was just like I feel like I felt at the time I felt like it was a little long, but after knowing the ride it takes you on, it kind of changes your
Well,
opinion.
I think I
Changed my opinion on
knew
it.
that this movie gets buck wild, and it was just like I was just waiting, and I'm
Mhm.
stewing in this. I'm stewing, and you're making me wait longer for the weird shit, and I'm stewing in this, and I know that the ball's gonna drop. And I think that one was after that scene was after the conversations, and
Yes.
right before it turns into the weird
Mhm.
part, and I remember just thinking about like those conversations were creepy and setting up some weird sexual situations,
Yeah, the one dude talks about it.
foreshadowing weird sexual
Yeah.
situations. And I was like, I started feeling weird during that dance scene, which is interesting that it was shot overhead, which gives you like a more dreamy feeling, I guess.
The bird's eye shots are my favorite, absolute favorite. I've so many of my old music videos. I try to incorporate that stuff into just. I like. There's something about just somebody being like that perspective, but also when someone's laying down in that perspective, that just feels like very heavy and weighted and just um because I feel like ultimately that's where people end up every single day, is just like laying on the ground and getting to see it from a perspective that's not either your own or just from this, someone laying next to you or you're standing or whatever, but you're really just getting a full take on this is what it is, this is what's happening, and it's uncut. I really enjoy it. It's stylistically very much love that.
My favorite character was actually her name in the cast is named Psyche, and that's the German girl. That's who I thought was the coolest one the whole movie. And they, in the very beginning in her interview, she's like, "Yeah, I just had to get away from Berlin. There's too many drugs. There's too many drugs." And
Yeah,
I knew a girl. I knew a girl who my old roommate used to use a eyedropper and drop LSD into her eyeballs. And in the very end of the movie, you see her do that, and that's what reveals who it was. You still don't know who it was in the end, and then you just get this quick little scene right before the ending, and it reveals who did it. Which I think I think the movie had to reveal who did it, but I like that they didn't have them figure it out. Nobody figured it out. It went because I don't think they would in a situation like this, because until at least till the next day.
I'm just like, why are you re-upping the morning?
I think she must always be tripping, and like with LSD, it has if you like tried to trip the next day, it has very diminishing effects. So I think somebody that's probably tripping all the time, it's different for them, but also they're probably fucking psycho, as we know. I don't. She probably just did that to see what would happen. I think that was what we were kind of. She talked about how like it's almost like she was bored or like she needed just to stir things up.
Yeah. Well, she kept referring to her one friend. She was like, "Why are you
boring?
Why are you ignoring me?" He was like, "You're just so boring anymore." And maybe you could say that as like a little bit of foreshadowing, but
I think that they were a couple. I think that they were a couple.
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then that girl gets all that girl ends up getting all horned up for being cast away, and then she tries to hook up with Selva, which is very aggressive about it. I mean, like Selva gives in and they have sex, but before that she's saying no for a while, and she's getting pulled into rooms and pulled into the bed, and then it just happens, and it's very much in a way of that blurred consent of
what makes it so weird is just like David walks in, like when she finally starts like kissing the girl, David walks in and then she stops and then she just pushes David out saying, "I don't want to see you anymore. I don't want to be with you anymore." And then immediately goes right back in to fucking that girl and slams the door. So it's like she had that opportunity, and that's what makes it so but goes back. So that's what keeps it so blurry. It's hard to say. Because the actions, I feel like everyone's actions and emotions are constantly changing. It's just it's interesting.
Yeah, I was really scared when David came in at that end. I was like, "Oh
yeah,
God."
I thought it was
two pretty girls making out with their tops off. And David has been obviously horny and then now like kind of crazy after getting his ass kicked, and
literally he went down the line and tried to bang every single girl there, and
not even just girls, like because there was I forget his name, but he was like obviously homosexual character. He's more feminine, like femboy.
Was vibe. It the short guy?
Real short, had like curly dancing? Short hair.
Yeah. He did the drag queen dance because he did the thing where you're doing the squat hop, like kicking one leg out and like doing the arm flicks from each side. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
that's not just drag queen dancing.
I always every drag show I've been to, like it's a staple of like.
I got you. But yeah, then he tries to bang him, and then Daddy kind of stops that.
Well, no, the little that guy tries to bang David, and
Yeah,
David
that's
keeps
it.
saying no and
That's
shoves him
it.
to the
That's it.
ground, and then the little guy's like, "Don't," like at the end, he's like, "Don't worry, like just just it's like everything's fine or whatever." And then him and Daddy cuddle at the end. Um, but yeah, David, he gets the shit kicked out of him. I don't even know. I can't remember why it started. Oh, it's because he was trying to mac on Giselle after Omar gets put out in the cold, and then the brother steps in and starts beating the shit out of him and draws a swastika on his forehead with lipstick and knocks him out. And then then that same guy ends up going on to trying to have sex with his sister, and I think he does
I'm
because
pretty
he
sure he
said
does. It's
because
implied that he does.
in the morning, the next day he says like nothing happened, but then he follows up with don't tell dad, don't tell mom and dad, but nothing happened. So clearly he banged his sister, and that's fucked up because she was saying no to that the entire movie. She even like has a seizure, which I thought she was ODing.
Yeah, she does
But she
seizure.
has a seizure and starts foaming in the mouth, and he like still isn't stopping. Like this dude is fucking pretty much just raped his sister.
Yeah, that's pretty terrible.
Pretty
Yeah, a lot of
fucking
bad
awful.
bad things happen, and if you've been in party worlds and you've been in nightlife and um art, even in art scenes, it's this all this stuff is a thing, and it's not like it's rampant or anything, but it's something that's always possible, and you should just do your best, make good choices, and I don't think the movie is definitely not saying don't do LSD or don't party or don't be youthful and have fun. But this is definitely, I feel like, and I don't think this isn't I don't think it's supposed to be a cautionary tale, but it's just like, I don't know, it just feels like something that could happen. It feels real.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I mean, especially if you were like not told ahead of time that you were being given
well, that's the whole
LSD.
point. Yeah, that's the whole point. Yeah. If you guys are all consensually taking LSD together, I'm sure that the movie would be a much different experience.
Yeah.
Um, but all right, what are you giving? What are you giving it? Climax.
Honestly, I think I'm leaving it at like a 4.5. Currently, it's really good. I liked it a lot. The more I watched it as it went.
I'm
Um,
also I'm also giving it a 4.5.
but I don't. I'm trying to think of what would keep it from being at a 5. But I think it's just like after watching it, I didn't have like a crazy takeaway of just like this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But it is damn near close.
Yeah, I don't. I gave it 4.5. Also, I didn't. I don't know why. I don't know. I can't really reason with it to give it a 5, but I can't. I don't know. I could think about it, and I totally would be fine with that. I can't really. I don't know what criticism I can give it. It's just the experience of it and what
Mm-hmm.
I felt about it. This movie stuck with me for a really long time. It was to the point where I was kind of anxious to watch it again. To be
Yeah.
honest, uh,
Really.
yeah, like I was not. I was excited for you to watch it, for us to talk about it, but I wasn't like super excited to watch it again. Just not because of the first half was fine. It's just like the back half being so abrasive and just generally hard to watch. But in a good way. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not, it's challenging and it's abrasive, but it's not. It's good, and
Like
it
I feel
should
like
be seen.
yeah, I feel like Teton had more parts that were harder to watch.
They're more
More time
shock
travel.
value. It's a
Yeah.
different. This is different. This is more of an unease. This is more of a. This feels wrong. This feels bad. This feel like it's that.
Mm.
Lost Highway could give me those vibes. In this, but this does it like in a more literal sense. Not
Yeah.
David Lynch movies can do this to me in a deeper sense, but or something like that. Just giving you an example that anyone would know. But this is something very literal, very not literal, but it's very. It's not. It can. I feel like anyone can relate with this that has experienced
Yeah.
some of these things, to elements of these things that we've talked about, and I think that's what makes it so powerful. Um, Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah, highly recommend it. It's a good
highly,
experience.
yeah. I think people should experience it for sure. Just go into
Mhm.
it knowing that this is, it's gonna be a rough time.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be
It's
like
like a
those in 20, 30 years. This is one of those movies that you come back to as like this is one of those like art house films that is a staple for the genre of doing something different and new. Um, you know,
yeah. I feel definitely. I think it's gonna be. Well, it's like I would imagine it'd become like some kind of cult classic. You got to see that crazy movie, man.
mm.
Like when we were in like high school or early college, like those kinds of movies, like cult
Mm.
classics, because they're edgy and you were a kid, you haven't exposed to a lot of crazy edgy shit.
Yeah. Now,
So go
speaking
ahead.
of real quick, speaking of like to kids and stuff, like, do you think like a high schooler watching this movie, this would make them like if you were like the group of like the party kids or whatever in high school, like which we've all been in and out of, do you think they would watch a movie, this movie, and be like, "This is nuts. Let's fucking do this and see what happens," or do you think it would be this is more like setting you up to be a little more responsible about it? Because I could totally see some edgelords in high school watching this and just being like, "Yeah, let's all do this and just fucking lock the doors, see what happens."
I
And
know. I don't think it would inspire people to drug people. I definitely
not to
don't
drug.
think that.
No, I don't mean to drug other people. I meant like to like collectively just get in a room and trip and
I think that's
not.
okay. I think you're gonna get people that are gonna be scared that never have tripped and see this and
Mm,
are probably gonna be spooked by it. And I think you're gonna be people that are like, LSD is crazy. We should try it.
yeah, yeah,
But I don't know. I lean more towards if you've never done it and you see this, you're probably gonna be a little bit afraid.
yeah.
Um, and but having done it and seeing it is just like knowing like there's this element of darkness and chaos to it, but not
Mm,
knowing that it is not the norm. That it is like you'd have to be in a horrible situation.
yeah. This is like a
That's it's
perfect storm of
yeah,
terrible.
like that's what this movie does. Is like you are in a perfect storm situation. But yeah, I liked it. I want to see more Gaspar and Noé's movies. They're supposed to
Yeah.
be all very edgy, and over the top like this, but like artsy, heavily artsy, but very over the top and edgy.
Hmm.
So he's known as a shock value guy for a while.
I'd be
Um,
down to see something else of his. Is this his
you're
most recent film?
this I think he might have one newer one. I can't remember when Love came out. I think Love's before this one. But yeah. So I was looking at the calendar, and
Blade
next
Runner.
week is the Blade Runner episode, and I saw that you're gonna be gone, so we're gonna be recording that
So,
one on Friday,
so
the
change of
15th.
plans.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
so my boss told us that Euphoria is switching to a one-line schedule, meaning they're making up the schedule literally the day before for the rest of this block. So all of my dates got thrown out the window, and they're gonna let me know the day before they're shooting, and essentially I have to figure it out. But what's probably going to end up happening this month is I'm just going to ship my camera out to Evan and just get the rental and not go if it's something
Oh.
that is like too just because like
What is you
so like I
can't
got
just get a flight on on a short notice.
that's yeah, it's going to go from me paying $500 round trip for a flight to like $800 round trip for which
Because you could
isn't
be
worth
going
it.
back and forth a bunch, or
Yeah,
either
because
that, or you'd
I've
have to
got
just stay at Evans just in case, which would not be good.
yeah, and I've got so much like I just got booked on another 3-day shoot that's a travel job and like out by Philly next or this week coming up, and then next weekend is going to be the start of those the cooking show commercial thing, and so I
Yeah,
just it's not going to be worth it for like financially. I'll make
yeah,
more money just getting the rental
we got
and
it.
staying here. Yeah.
Yeah, we got it.
So
They
I
don't
should
need
be
to
good
know
for
your
normal
your
schedule.
work plans. Yeah, we're still on the thing.
So as of now, I'm saying we can do like Sunday should be fine for the stream.
Okay, I'm just gonna move it then. All right.
If
All right.
that was
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'm gonna wrap it up. I gotta get moving here.
no
And
worries.
but I'll let you know what I'm doing. And yeah. Let's end this, and we'll talk about a couple things. All right, y'all. I appreciate you for watching Best Boys of Film podcast. Make sure you get in touch with us. Follow us on all the things. We're on Facebook. The video podcast is on YouTube, and the audio is available anywhere that you watch podcasts. Make sure you follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Kory, you want to plug your shit?
Yeah. Kory with the story on Instagram. Come check it out. It's mostly just my work stuff. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Keep on coming. Tell a friend if they like movies and they don't want just your 5 minute. Well, here's the recap of the movie. And then come on and talk to some cool bros, some pit bros.
Oh, and I'm at Sob Thomas, by the way. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Next week, we are watching Blade Runner 1 and 2, the Ridley Scott and Blade Runner 2049 by Denis Villeneuve.
I'm excited for this because I haven't seen a Denny movie since I think Prisoners.
I haven't seen
awesome.
Prisoners, but I want to.
What?
All right.
Oh, it's so good.
All right. Bye.
All right. Later.